A back-to-back tussle over an injunction to stop the Let My Vote Count Alliance from picketing at the Electoral Commission is getting interesting. The police service has secured another injunction just hours after an Accra Circuit Court overturned the previous one secured through an ex parte motion. Legal experts say the decision to secure an ex parte motion 11 days before the picketing was short-sighted on the part of the police service. But as it stands, the service is unable to locate any of the leadership of the Let My Vote Count Alliance to serve the new injunction. What will this mean to the planned picketing on Tuesday, September 29? Also, this evening, the opposition New Patriotic Party claims it has fresh evidence beyond reasonable doubt to back its cause where new voters register. Will this change anything at all? This is today's big story with me, Stephen N.T. Well, organizers of the Let My Vote Count Alliance today went to court to set aside a restraining order secured by the police to stop the group from picketing at the Electoral Commission tomorrow, Tuesday, 29. But hours after what was perceived as victory for the group, the police went back to court and this time secured another injunction on notice. We're going to get our reporter Kwachi Afrenyama, who was in court today, to talk us through some of the issues that transpired today. But let's get to the phone lines now and speak to Ibrahim AJ, who is with the Let My Vote Count Alliance. He's on the line now. Good evening, Ibrahim, and thanks for your time. Good evening, Ibrahim.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, I'm grateful that you could join us. I know you had a previously arranged engagement, so you couldn't come to our studios. But I need to hear from you what your group make of the fact that the police went ahead, despite your earlier victory, what appears to be victory, to secure another injunction against the picketing tomorrow. What's the reaction from your group?
I think the reaction of our group is much the same as the reaction all over Ghana, and I'm sure the international community when you go further afield. We are very disappointed in what the police have done. They've managed to secure an ex parte. That means they've gone behind our back in seeking this injunction after we in fact secured victory this very morning. And the reasons that they gave is that apparently, the police have some intelligence and armed robbers are coming to Greater Accra and other regions, and they need resources to man those police operations, and they've asked us to choose another date. Now they've accepted that the Supreme, or rather the circuit courts, have indeed said that the Let My Vote Count Alliance can actually picket the Electoral Commission. Now that they've accepted that, and so they've shifted the goalpost and say we should choose another date, apparently because armed robbers are coming to Accra and they need police resources to operationalize. I mean,
but
is it a whole army?
This is all.
It is a bad day for democracy, and clearly you can see some government machinery behind the police action.
I'm afraid, these allegations you cannot substantiate. This is a matter of law. The earlier ex parte motion was set aside because we were told that the circuit court ruled that it had expired. So that was a victory for you. But they went again. This time, our understanding was that the injunction was secured on notice, meaning you were well aware that the police was filing that injunction.
That is never the case. That is never the case. The police have shown to the whole of Ghana that they are indeed, at certain levels, I want to use the word corrupt with a small c. Their behavior is being very corruptive with a small c, in deference to other members of the police who act within the confines of the law. We've never been served a notice. And in fact, the judge this morning made mention of the fact that with only 28 hours left to our demonstration, he is of the view that they cannot go against an ex parte decision, and then they should have in fact notified us. That's what the judge said this morning, and I believe joinees were there in the courtroom. The police have done a disservice to democracy here in Ghana, and rather than actually allowing us to peacefully picket, in God's name, that's all we seek to do, to peacefully picket so we get a clean new register. So according to 2016, we have an election, That is an electoral roll that is expunged of minors, expunged of foreigners, expunged of triplicate and duplicate registrations, which the EC say they can do, but clearly they haven't been able to do that. We need a new register. And why the police are somehow doing the bidding of other institutions and frustrating the will of Ghanaians is yet to be determined.
Right, so
demonstrate. We will demonstrate and make sure that we picket and the Ghanaian voice is heard.
So now, I mean, it's agreed that the court is ordering you to fix another date. Are you considering another date? Do you have any date?
We'll be holding a press conference tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We, on our part, will work within the confines of the law. We are law-abiding, peaceful citizens. And the whole of Ghana has been watching the drama that has been unfolding since the police brutalities of September 16th. Upon all the brutalities, given us the go-ahead to actually picket the Electoral Commission within the environment.
Right.
That it is a security installation. Never is that the case.
Right.
But we will work within the confines of the law. We will descend heavily upon the police force for their undemocratic actions in the middle of the night on our blind side. So if you believe you have a case, why don't you call us? I'm talking to the police. But you go on our blind side in order to secure this injunction.
Right.
Ghana is watching.
You're not allowing me. You're not allowing me to speak.
The goodwill of the people. The belief. Take care and make sure that Ghanaians do not lose faith in our police.
But Ibrahim, if you say you are going to descend heavily on the police force, that sounds like a threat.
It is not a threat. We're working within. When I say descend, why are you taking it all the way to Nungwa when we're speaking here in Nima? When I say descend, heavily descend, definitely we have a democratic right to make our voices heard. And let the police know that what they're doing is undemocratic. It is not in good faith. It is against the tenets of freedom and justice, which we all fight for and are committed to.
Right, so your view now is that
it's a disgrace. So when I say we heavily descend, we started already. Tune into the airwaves across the country, and you hear how people are lambasting the police. That is a descent that I'm talking about. We are democratic and peaceful. We will continue to work within the confines of the Constitution. So, and as I say, there will be a press conference tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
Right, thanks very much. But before we go, let's put on record. You feel that the police's reasons for securing an injunction against you, the reasons are flimsy and are of no basis?
Not only flimsy, they are bogus. So if armed robbers are coming, do you need a whole police force, the whole of Accra Metropolitan Authority, or the Greater Accra Police Force, to be able to operationalize that? I mean, sometimes we have to ask serious questions of the police service. Are the armed robbers coming from Syria, or Rwanda, or Burundi? I mean, how many of them are there? How many of them? We sit here in Ghana where the cocaine gets missing from the police headquarters, and you can't control that one. We sit here in Ghana where and ammunition go missing here in Ghana, and the police cannot monitor. But now you need a whole police force, Greater Accra Police Force, National Headquarters and Regional High Command to manage what you say is intelligence about some armed robbers coming to Greater Accra, and therefore people cannot demonstrate.
Right,
what are we talking about?
Ibrahim Ajay, we're grateful that you could join us, and we'll be expecting you later tonight on PM Express to discuss more thoroughly this issue. Thanks very much. Ibrahim Ajay is a leading member of the Let My Vote Count, and I have now in the studio Kwachi Afre Nyama, who has been covering this development. Kwachi, how are you, sir?
Great, Stephen.
So quickly run us through some of the reasons cited by the police for this injunction.
A number of them here, in fact about 10, but the major highlights. For example, they talk about the fact that there has been an intelligence source that suspected hardened criminals, and in fact, Stephen, these are reasons that they cited in court on which basis the court had to, grant this injunction. That they have intelligence source that hardened criminals had planned to attack, rob, and cause panic within Accra and other regions, and that they intend to attack policemen on essential duty and similar to what happened in Ho, where a police constable was shot and killed by some unidentified men. Another point they make here is that there is intelligence led mapping up the operation against some criminal dens within Accra and other regions from the 25th to 30th September, to arrest these criminals. And again, they say that in view of the chieftaincy dispute that we've heard about that erupted over the weekend in the Upper East region, that's Bolgatanga specifically, the police has deployed enough personnel to the place that these same personnel who have been deployed to this area would have been used to support those who would have been deployed by the Accra Regional Police Command to provide security and direct
for the protesters.
The protesters. Again, they say that this deployment has overstretched their resources owing to the reasons that they've stated about the security concerns and all that, and that the police cannot get enough men to provide the needed security for the over 5,000 protesters who are expected for the Let My Vote Count Alliance demonstration. And finally here, and of course, the third reason, the third point they made, that they pray the courts based on these factors to completely grant them this injunction to postpone the protest.
And my understanding was that, was this also an ex parte motion, a motion that was filed without a notice of the Let My Vote Count Alliance?
Exactly.
This was also an ex parte motion.
Sure.
So did you get to speak to some of the members of the Let My Vote Count Alliance during the court hearing or anything? Were they there, or did they know about it in advance?
Concerning this particular, well, as of now, the police say that they've not been able to serve any of the leaders of the Let My Vote Count Alliance. And interesting what the police are planning to do, from what we are gathering from sources within the service, is that as early as dawn tomorrow, they'll go to the Obra spot. This is the venue where, of course, the protesters would converge before they depart to their final destination. They'll cordon off the place, and if that's to prevent them from even converging at all.
But I mean, the argument that the police resources are overstretched and that some men are in Bolgatanga, some men are also on red alert over an impending threat of armed robbery, which is, well, I don't know how feasible these reasons are. But if they are overstretched, then where are they getting the numbers to go to the brass spot to ensure security, according the place of ensure nobody comes there to gather in the first place?
Of course, this one argument that people like ranking member on the Defense Committee, Major Derek Kodro, is raising the questions about. Of course, you say that you are overstretched. This is the same excuse, according to him and the likes of Minority Leader Osei Asare. So the police give every time they want to refuse, providing security on the demonstrations of this nature. They think that it's simply an excuse, and it holds no merit at all.
Holds no merit. I'm very grateful for your time. We have to quickly move on to other areas of our discussions tonight. So if you heard, the developing story is that the police have secured an injunction to stop the Let My Vote Count Alliance, which planned picketing at the Electoral Commission tomorrow. Earlier, the group secured another injunction, overturned a previous injunction which was served through an ex parte motion, which then now allowed them to picket. Now, the opposition New Patriotic Party NPP claims it has produced fresh evidence that solidifies its call for a new voters register. The party says in all it submitted samples of over 2,096 separate cases of double and multiple registration from all 10 regions of Ghana. So key question is, does this change anything at all? We're trying to get the Director of Elections of the NPP, Martin Ejia Kosa, onto the telephone line to give us details of this. But let's get to the other line. We have Dr. Edward Brenya, who is a senior scholar of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. He's joining us. Doc, we're grateful that you could join us. We apologize for holding you on for a little too long. Good evening, Doc.
Good evening. Your line is very faint, so I'm struggling to hear most of the conversation that is going on.
Right, that's fine. I'll try and speak a bit clearer so that you can hear me. So I'm saying that the NPP claims that it has enough evidence beyond reasonable doubt to back its calls for a new voters.
Can you please adjust your mic so that I can hear you better?
Right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Right. So I'm saying the MPP claims it has fresh evidence beyond reasonable doubt to back calls for a change in a new voters register. Now, it says that it has gathered samples of over 2,000 multiple and duplicate registrations from all 10 regions in the voters register. Now, the key question we're asking tonight is, does that change anything at all? Should this compel the Electoral Commission to now take the New Patriotic Party a bit more serious in its request or demand for a new voters register?
Well, I think, let me first of all use the opportunity to greet your able listeners and also indicate that, yes, if the MPP indeed has found new evidence that there are a lot of double registration in the voters register, yes. But the problem we still have is the fact that even as the MPP claim that they have this evidence, those has not been made available. I think at the last but one iPad meeting, the suggestion was made by the Electoral Commission that if any party has evidence, that it should provide that evidence, and if the evidence is compelling, then the Electoral Commission will act based on the feasibility and the available resources. I think it still boils down to the same thing. The claim that we have evidence, but those evidence have not been made available to the Electoral Commission. So what I'm saying is that, yes, if those evidence are available, if you have fresh one, yes, the Electoral Commission is indeed what they are claiming is true, and I'm not saying or doubting what the MPP is saying. If indeed it is true, the MPP should make it available to the Electoral Commission and compel the Electoral Commission to act. If the Electoral Commission refuses to act, then the MPP can go to court. But it's not enough for MPP to be making claims upon claims when those things are not made available per the request.
Right, Dr. Brenya, have you hold? I have on the other telephone line the Director of Elections of the MPP to quickly speak to us about this matter, especially whether the evidence has been submitted, the evidence have been presented to the Electoral Commission. Mr. Kosa, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
So this fresh evidence you claim is compelling enough to make the Electoral Commission listen to your case. Have you presented it already?
Yes, it has been presented, and there isn't any doubt about it. The Commission has acknowledged the receipt of all that they took on the Tuesday, exactly a week tomorrow.
I see.
I think through their PRO. So there isn't any doubt about that. I, speaking to you personally, presented it at a time when the PNC General Secretary, Bernard Mona, had also appeared in the same office to submit theirs. And there's a receipt to that. So there isn't any qualms about it.
There isn't any qualms about that. So what are your expectations? I'm asking this on the back of the fact that previously the MPP had told the whole of the country that he had evidence to suggest that over 76,000 foreigners were captured in the voters register. We do not know whether the Electoral Commission had taken any action based on that, but you presented that as evidence already, and then this is fresh evidence. So what are your expectations?
Well, what I do expect is that there appears to be too much noise, and I use this word advisedly, noise around. I would want the Commission, first of all, to put in place a process that they are able to independently verify whatever it is that has been submitted by any of the parties, at least the New Patriotic Party. It is important, first of all, to establish the truth or otherwise. There are too many lazy people who don't want to work. You're dealing with the same register, what you find, they have not found because they will not sit to work. It's just too easy to find any of this if you are dealing with the same register as us. It's also important that the Commission itself, who is the recipient of our petition and whose work is being called into question now, to make themselves that good by, first of all, establishing that or otherwise. Then we can now look at the impact of what they find on the Commission's work, or on the register that we have. I'm making this point because it is just too important that we don't reduce this whole debate to how many parties say what. It could be 100 political parties. If 1 out of 99 makes a claim, that claim ought to be dealt with on its own merit.
On its own merit.
The truth or otherwise of that has to be established, and it's on the strength of that evidence, adduced and verified, that any decision ought to be taken. It should not be left to as if you just calling people and picking views for the sake of it.
That's right.
We are not into competition about this petition. No. It could have been the TNC making a claim, and that claim ought to be investigated, and once established and has that effect on the register.
That's right.
Then that decision has to be made going forward.
Right.
So quickly to sum up.
Yes.
I think that let's resist the temptation to reduce this matter to some talk shop between political parties.
Exactly.
I think it goes beyond that. We need proper expertise, people whose work it is to apply the right technology to unravel what it is we are talking about. And also, the commission must not cocoon this into their corner. I mean, they are the ones, this is a reflection on their work. And there is every cause for them to want to shield and save their faces. We don't want that happening here. Because we believe in what we have sent, we believe in the truth, and anybody can verify.
Mr. Jacobs, I will not. I will still hold you because it's getting interesting. I still have Dr. Edward Brinya on the line. Dr. Brinya, so Mr. Kosa is making a very important statement here. He's saying that the Electoral Commission, based on all the evidence that the MPP and other parties have presented to it, should not just take a decision based on face value, that it should set up an independent committee to thoroughly and independently verify all these claims that the political parties have put before it. Then it can make an informed decision whether to take action or not to take action. How do you react to this? What do you see the impact of this statement?
I think I agree with Mr. Profan's position. If indeed they have submitted that evidence, then the Electoral Commission should try to verify all the claims that have been made to it. If possible, set out an independent task force to look into it. And if indeed what the MPP is claiming is true, then the Electoral Commission should do everything within its power to make sure that all those names, double registration and other things that NPP has submitted is dealt with before the election. I think if indeed what the NPP has found is true, and the Electoral Commission go into an election with that voters register, it will be a dent on the election.
The elections.
So I'm saying, yes, I agree with him. The Electoral Commission should verify whatever has been submitted. And if the Electoral Commission refuses, then I think it's embedded on parties to go to court. Because it is only court that can compel the Electoral Commission to go against what they refuse to do. I think it is within their right. Whether it is one political party, whether it is two political parties, it is not about the number of parties involved. It is about the voters register. It is about respecting the rights of the people. I think it will not be fair. It will be undemocratic if indeed those people just exist in the voter register that should be used in the next election.
I know that there have been many, for example, many pro-government supporters who have suggested that the MPP's call for a new voters register perhaps is to prepare the ground for what is to happen in 2016, as they are afraid to lose elections. But if the Electoral Commission decides to brush off all these claims from the MPP and the other political parties, what will be the implications of this to the credibility of the 2016 general elections? Let's assume there is a case against a new voters register.
I think if the Electoral Commission should back it off, then it would not be the claim that the MPP is preparing the ground for what they will do after a defeat. It will rather be the Electoral Commission who is actually preparing the ground for people to attack the credibility of the outcome of the election. I think it is embedded on the Electoral Commission to prove beyond all reasonable doubt that it is an independent party, that it wants to hold free and fair election in Ghana, and that when issues such as the MPP has presented, if indeed is verified to be true, are taken care of, so that the credibility of the election that will be held in 2016 will not be questionable.
All right, Dr. Brinya, we're grateful for your time on today's big story. Thanks very much. Dr. Brinya is a senior scholar at the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. We still have Martin Ajay Kosa. So, Martin, key issue Dr. Brinya raises is that if you, for any reason, feel dissatisfied or unhappy with the process that the Electoral Commission is going through in addressing your consent, you can go to court. Is this an option that you're considering?
Well, when we get there, we'll cross it. With what we have submitted, until and unless that there is any other motive or agenda, there is no way anybody should not come to a conclusion that would restore sanity to this register. You see, it's important. With the second round of evidence submitted, there's been much talk about having done duplication. And this duplication is just the process of cleaning the data that we collected, especially the biodata aspect, using the automated fingerprint identification system. With this technology, my brother, there is no doubt that nothing can pass down our eye. I mean, everything gets removed once it's in there. Therefore, it baffles us to learn that with all the noise that has been done about this thing hasn't been carried out, and indeed it's been the strongest point of those who are opposed to the NPP petition, that we've undertaken deduplication, we've done that and done that and done that, so how come you claim that there is anything wrong with the register? Yet, the very current of all the registers received by us on the 21st of August at IPAC, we subjected it to this, and this is what we are seeing: multiple registrations that fall under different polling stations, pictures, voter ID card numbers that are being shared by other voters. All kinds of things are in this register that we have just found after deduplication.
Right.
So if this level of cleaning can still leave us with this, then what other cleaning are people calling for, rather than to do a new one? What other cleaning could there be after using this deduplication process and the ethics methodology? What else can we clean?
Right, Mr. Martin Ajay Kosa, we're grateful for your time. And that's it for today's big story. My name is Stephen Enti, and thanks for making time with us. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye-bye.